girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of HSG, and today we have another good one for you. Story time, and today we're going to talk about my old school EK Civic with the B16 swap. This video was a little late. It was supposed to be uploaded a couple days ago, but my computer has had some issues that I've had to completely reformat, so it seems to be all good now. So we're just going to move on. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So on March 6, 2016, I uploaded a video of my EK Civic getting a B16 swap. And there's a lot that goes into the background of this story. This car actually has a lot of history, and the swap has a lot of history because one of the little known facts about this video was that it was my first long form video, and it was actually supposed to be the last HSG video ever made. Needless to say, a lot of people started to watch the video and the video took off. So from that point on, instead of giving up on YouTube, I actually started to upload more and take YouTube quite seriously. Essentially, the video took off, and just within like 2 weeks, it had 60,000 views. And I never expected that. So how did it get to that point? How did it get to the point where I was going to give up on YouTube, literally? Well, the fact is I had been doing YouTube for about 3 years, and I actually took a little bit of a break before this video. There was actually another video called How to B20 VTEC in the Summer. This video was essentially me putting a GSR head on the B20 block of my GSR Integra that was red at the time. One of the funny things about that video is it took me a long time to sort of get everything together to produce that video, because I actually took a lot of time off from doing YouTube, because before I actually had that red Integra, I actually had an 04 TSX automatic that I was just like, yeah, this is a nice car, this is an adult car. I had that car for a couple months, and I just really got to the point where it was just not fun. It just really wasn't exciting. I was bored. So a buddy of mine actually had a GSR Integra for sale that actually had the motor that hydrolocked, put a B20 in it, and I sold the TSX and I bought the Integra. He gave me the GSR head along with it, and down the road I swapped the head onto it. And the funny thing is about the video, if you watch How to B20 VTEC in the Summer, by the end of the video the car is no longer mine. I actually had found another car that I totally fell in love with at the time, but was barely on the channel. It was only on the channel for this one video. And at the time I was really just trying to connect with my old school roots, I guess. I just wasn't filming a lot. I just wanted to do, you know, car stuff with my buddies and do car stuff and just get reconnected to working on cars that way. The red Integra was given up for a 93 Civic hatchback, and it's a Tahitian green hatchback. And it actually had Gathers rear interior, you know, the really cool interior that fold down. And I actually installed power windows in that car. It had an LS VTEC. I installed AC on that car. I did a lot to that car, but at the end of it, I got frustrated with it. So I had moved on from the red Integra. I had moved on from the green Civic hatchback, and both of those cars were barely on the channel. And then one more car that I went through, which was a 91 EF that was painted like a flat gray. That was really cool. It had a B20 swap and it had a tucked radiator. I had a lot of fun with that car. It looked phenomenal. One day, Charlie actually came across this Honda Civic hatchback that was all primered black, and it was in great shape, as a matter of fact, for being a stock car. Other than the headliner was destroyed, he asked me to pick the car up because he had dropped it off at this paint shop and got it painted, fresh red paint job. And I went and picked it up with him, and I drove it back to his house, and I was like, this is such a fun car. I forgot how fun, you know, EKs were at the time. And the EF, which I loved, someone offered me a lot of money for it, and so I was like, let it go. I did one video of the EF, which was camber kit install, which was the video right before B16A swap in the EK Civic video. So finally I acquired the EK Civic. I had it for a while, and then Charlie actually came across a hatchback that had a B16A in it, an SIR2 motor, and he was gonna part the car out. I already had a transmission, so I picked the motor up from him, and oddly enough, my plan was to document the entire swap and make it as a swan song, a last video, a last hurrah for Honda Street Garage. The YouTube channel at this point was sort of becoming more of a headache than it was worth, because I was having to invest so much time and money, and it really didn't have much of a return at all. Oddly enough, one of the things looking back when I watched the video is I reused a lot of the green hoses that came with the engine, but I had no other choice for the most part. I was just really on a budget when I swapped that B16 in. So I got the engine and transmission, I got a hold of everything as far as axles and shift linkage and everything, and we set out to swap the engine.
You ready to see the 0 to 60 of the Y7? Shift. of shit.
The great thing about having everything right there before we started the swap was when we pulled the car in, we swapped it, we finished it, and I drove the car home that night.
It'll get under there. Oh, she too low. Okay, so we drained the coolant. I'm trying to film and jack at the same time. That's what the Charlie Mama said. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have the removal of a D16 Y7. And we're gonna replace it with this empty engine bay. And then we're gonna put that B16 up inside. Okay, here's our harness that we pulled off of the Y7. We're going to use this. You have to usually use the harness that came off the car is what you normally want to do, and then modify it. Lengthen, shorten wires, add some VTEC, you know, whatever.
And as you can see in the video, I actually installed a bad alternator, which was stupid on my part at the time. And also I handled most of the wiring. It took a couple more weeks to finalize all of the odds and ends. It actually had a Skunk 2 VTEC solenoid on it, and I was having a lot of trouble with it. The car would run funny. Like it would run fine, and then it would engage VTEC one time, and then it would basically get stuck in VTEC. Then it took me like a week to figure this out. Just essentially the plunger that would activate the VTEC and, you know, add the oil pressure through the head just kept getting stuck, and just the car would run funny, and it was weird, and it took me a long time to really get that car dialed in and figured out. So I had worked on the car for a couple more weeks and got it to where it was drivable. And I remember that this was actually in February when we did all this stuff, so it was actually pretty cold outside for the most part. But it wasn't snowing. It was actually pretty mild of a February. It was generally pretty warm, but there's scenes in there where you can see us with the heater in the garage. And the other funny thing is that at the very opening of the video is a list of all the parts you need to swap a B16 in an EK Civic. Still to this day I get questions like, hey, what did you use for the mounts? What did you use for axles? What did you use for this, that? I'm like, the list is in the opening of the video. So after a couple weeks, I finally got the car dialed in where I wanted to. It had a yellow valve cover. Obviously it had a weird purple one because we sprayed the whole motor silver. And a lot of people didn't understand that at first, where, you know, my theory was always to add the valve cover later so that you didn't scratch it up or mess it up or anything. So once I got the video put together, I uploaded it, really didn't think twice about it. And after a week and a half, I noticed that the views on the video had done really well. Whereas the video that I had put out before, the camera kit video, only got like 2,000 views after 2 weeks. The EK Civic, the B16 swap video, just took off. It got, I believe, you know, 30,000–40,000 views in the first 2 weeks. And then it hit 60,000 views, and then it just kept going and kept going. And from that point on, essentially we took the channel pretty seriously. I did one more video, I believe, or one or two more videos, I believe, and then started season 4 after that, which was building Jessica's car and getting it ready for Import Alliance and all that stuff. To look back, I was going through a pretty crazy personal time. Just lots of memories kind of flood through when I look at that car, and I did a lot of fun things and, you know, had a lot of great memories. And essentially the reason why I moved on from that car and had let that car go was I kept going to shows with everybody else, and my car would not get accepted into the car shows because I guess it wasn't nice enough. So really what I wanted to do is get a professional paint job on it. So for the most part, there was a lot of things that I probably wish I could have done with that car. I put JDM ITR black Recaros in it. It really would have been fun to push that car even farther. But really at the time, you know, my budget was maxed out, and because the channel was starting to take off, I wanted to find other reasons to have things to work on, because that was like the thing about the channel that really took off. So it was a learning experience, and obviously, you know, I moved on from it. So after this car was sold, then I got into Supersonic Blue Pearl Integra, but that's a whole other story that's already up on the channel. So that pretty much wraps this car story up, which is technically supposed to be a throwback Thursday, but it's now late Friday, I think, is when this video is going to go up. Thank you guys so much for listening to this one. Hopefully we'll be back working on the Integra pretty soon. Things are getting kind of crazy because it's Christmas time. Really still waiting on a few parts and a few other things for the Integra to kind of move forward on it. So hopefully there should be some more stuff happening this weekend and next week. See you guys on the next video. Thank you again so much for watching. Click subscribe, like if you like this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Keep living your dreams.